I'm Ian Rush and you're watching the Redmen TV.
It's not that shit. I'm fed up of us fucking up so monumentally in the public eye. Yeah. When you have had a toothless performance, when you've had to play far too many starters against Hearts, and your manager comes on and goes, okay, Carroll's gone out today, I've been concentrating on the game, Ian's been on the phone all day, I'm gonna have a...
To Babe Station.
I'm gonna have a debrief with him.
Paying his gas bill,
yeah. Fucking to his nan or something. But I'm gonna have a debrief with him. We will be bringing in a few players, plural.
Yeah.
A few,
one or two.
One or two tomorrow. He says that on Thursday. There's a quote, Tuesday press conference. I'd be an idiot to let Carroll go out on loan.
Yeah, mental.
Right, I'd be mental or something like that. All summer he's been talking about, we can't let Carroll go out on loan. And then we go and let Carroll go out on loan, and he promises that there's going to be cover, don't worry, brought in. And then we go and look toothless again against Arsenal, and in the press conference he says, yeah, I would never let Carroll go out on loan if I'd have known we wasn't going to get anyone. That's not good for anyone. That's not good for him in the eyes of the fans who still think Kenny shouldn't have been sacked. It's not good for him in the eyes of the fans who aren't...
He's having a pop at...
Oh, I understand, but what I mean is...
Now we know why FSG didn't talk to Rafa, because he'd have gone off his fucking bonnet.
Yeah. But that's it, and
he's been sat there in a tracksuit.
I want us to have a season where we just talk about the football. I don't want us to talk about our mishandling of Suarez's race route or the race route. I don't want us to talk about the manager going off on one. I just coach the team. I just manage the team. Or
this is the problem. Is that these lines of conversation, these topics now exist.
Yeah.
So we're always going to be looking to talk about them. But just to get back to the letter, one quote in particular. I'm going to look at a couple of what I think are the key quotes from there. There's one there. The transfer policy was not about cutting costs. It was and will be in the future about getting maximum value for what is spent, so that we can build quality and depth. Now, basically, the general argument's been that it looks like an asset strip. They're selling off as much as possible to trim down the budget, so that the operating costs are a lot less. So basically, it's less of an issue if someone comes in. They're not coming in saddled with 30-year-old players on hundreds of grand a week. But my overriding point of it is that if you're a fucking cynic and you want to see the downside of this, you'll take that comment and go horseshit. What's the bollocks? Yeah. No, but that's what I'm saying. You'll go horseshit. Whereas for me, I think that's great. And again, it goes back to this notion of, I've said this on part one, Joe Cole needed to get shoved off the fucking budget. He is the one big glaring sore thumb in that squad at the minute. You know what I mean? He's on inflated wages for shit ability level.
Yeah.
And look, let's call a spade. Like, I mean, he's done nothing to prove that he's worth that money that he's on. And for me, if we got rid of him, that maybe would have meant to Clint. That maybe would have meant to Clint Dempsey.
The deal.
But the fact of the matter is, if we're not in the Champions League, we're in the Europa League, we're a mid-table side, sorry to say it, but that's where we are. And the fact of the matter is, if we can get ourselves further up and put ourselves in a better striking position to the end, even in January, I'd rather us have the money to spend when we've got it to spend on the players we want to spend it on.
I think the key line for me in that was getting value for the money that we spend. There's Joe Allen, falls right into that category. I think Fabio Barini potentially falls into that category.
And it sounds daft, but theoretically, Andy Carroll, not quite, because 35 is still too much money. But I said, we said on part one again, there was an argument to be made for a young 21, 22-year-old English centre forward who was in shit up form. There was argument to be made that we will go and spend the money on players like that.
Well, that's not the Carroll thing, because again, that was just Kamoi can't negotiate for shit. He basically got raped in the negotiating room.
Allegedly.
Well, and he paid 35 million for it.
Pinned down by Mike Ashley.
That sort of shit.
He bent over the table by Mike Ashley. When he come up, he just had black and white straight body stripes on the back of his suit.
A few comments that were made on the transfer deadline day, where, when it come down to we couldn't find this extra bit of money to bump up the Dempsey offer, and people were saying, but they paid $1 million for, is it Sameed? Yesel. Yeah. They paid $1 million for Sameed Yesel yesterday. We don't need talent in the future. We need talent now, because that thing there is. That's what that million's about.
Well, in fairness,
there's a fella,
both, don't we?
But there's a fella who represents complete value for money for whatever reason. If you read the Leverkusen boards are saying Sammy Hippie is still loyal to the horrible English bastards of Liverpool, and he's sold our best promising talent to them for very, very cheap. Whatever reason, he's come up with £1 million. He could be a 5 million, 10 million, 20 million pounds player in 3 or 4 years' time. You look at his goal scoring record. So the value for money is we've gone out and got him in. So you've sanctioned the £1 million there, but they wouldn't sanction over the odds on
that quick fix. You'll talk about people going, "Oh my God, we haven't signed a quick fix." The example I'll just say to everyone is Leeds United.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Spunked a load of money on
Robbie Fowler, Robbie Keane, you know.
Well, let's look.
Bridges.
Let's see how well QPR do.
Yeah, exactly.
Because QPR have put, again, to borrow the expression, have spunked a load of money this summer. And what have they got? They've got Fulham's fucking strike partnership from 3 years ago.
Road of 30-year-old journeyman, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is the thing, and how sustainable is that? And this is the problem Man City are faced with, and Chelsea. Look at fucking Chelsea. Where's their kids coming through? Where's Josh McEachran? He's got it on loan. Why is he not?
Yeah.
Why is he not in the first team squad? Because he's never going to get anywhere near it. Because they bought Oscar instead.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And this is now the problem is, of course, here's the counterpoint. If Clint Dempsey's goals get you into the Champions League, then it is money well spent, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's the argument, is that should we have... It goes back to, there's a point, I think the next quote is, spending is not merely about buying talent. Our ambitions do not lie in cementing a mid-table place with expensive short-term fixes that will only contribute for a couple of years. It basically talks about developing young players and stuff. But this is... that's all well and good, you could say, but as I say, if
you're going to wallow in mediocrity or...
one of the things that strikes me about him and the way they run business, though, is they're not going to cater to anybody. If they don't think that man is worth that amount of money, then he's not worth that amount of money, and we should trust him in that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he says in his first paragraph is about getting in acceptable deals, and they tried really difficult, but there was no deals that were acceptable to them. I think Liverpool Football Club in the past has been taken for a ride by loads of clubs. Everyone we bought off, and they're now changing.
We're notorious for it.
And they're now changing what people's perception of us is. We're now not the whipping boys that you can just add 5
million. And unfortunately, there's that year that's on there. It's on their copybook, it's on their time, when they got fucked more than anyone, you know, was still paying.
Did you hear the rumour about Jordan Henderson? I don't know how true it was, but apparently...
Offers a full?
No. Before we signed Jordan Henderson, apparently Steve Bruce was on record as saying to Niall Quinn at the time, we'll be lucky to get 4 or 5 million for Jordan in this transfer window. And Damien can only come along with his big fat checkbook. It was like,
but just to back to the point, I think maybe the point Chris was coming to is that, having set that stall into that, we've maybe almost sacrificed ourselves for a year to say, so when the next window comes around, people know not to fuck with Liverpool.
That's my point.
And they either, whatever way it was, they either showed, they were very naive and trusted someone, or they're showing that they've learned, and we're not going to, we're businessmen first and foremost, we're not going to...
But is that Chris, do you not think that could potentially be a case of how we potentially cutting off our nose to spite our face to a certain extent?
I think we are either way. From their point of view, we can go and spend the 6 million on Dempsey, but to them, 2 years is cutting off the nose to spite the face.
So it's better that we try and reassert ourselves as a bargaining force and say, well, you know what, fuck off. But I would suspect, again, it sounds like, from what I've heard, much like the Sigurdsson deal, there was a price agreed by Aston Villa. We've gone, okay, well, that's the price agreed, that's what we'll pay. And then they've gone back to you.
Yeah.
And then Tottenham have gone, 6.
Yeah. We were rumoured for Berbatov as well, and I don't know how much it's true because the amount of shit there is that comes out. But apparently, what I heard was, you know, he was going to either Fiorentina, Juventus, or Fulham for the price that they agreed. Liverpool put an inquiry in there, and they went, "Yeah, to you, like 20, because we don't do business with you." And I think Fulham turned into that. Mike said Fulham weren't ever going to sell to us. They accepted a bid in the morning from Villa. We put that bid in. And they went, it's more than that. And we went, no, because you accepted the bid.
We've all done it on Footy Manager. We've all done it on Footy Manager.
I
think
I've accepted 10, but I think
in the world we exist in now, are always in a lose-lose situation, because they can be doing their utmost to balance the books and make sure there's a tight ship being run, so that we don't fall into the trap that we fell into under the previous 2 jokers. But for as long as there's an Abramovich and there's a Sheikh Mansour around,
Sheikh Curry Monster.
Yeah, exactly. As long as there's that bloke of City around, they're never going to be able to do right in Liverpool fans' eyes, because other clubs can go out and spend shitloads of money on players, and certain elements of our fans who are naive enough to think we can do that think, well, why aren't we doing that? And that's the problem that they're always going to have.
I would rather us win the league the FSG way than the Man City or the Chelsea way, though.
Yeah.
It's just a
But
lot
the
harder
problem
to
is-
sit here through the 5,
It's
6
hard to
years.
But
say.
the problem
It's
is, will we
hard to
ever
do.
win the league in the FSG
Here's the point, and it's the point I made to an Evertonian today, is that it's about, because he's desperate for us to accept, for all these blind Liverpool fans to accept that we're not fucking amazing anymore. But the fact of the matter is, throwing money at a problem at Liverpool, unless you've got City money or Chelsea money, you can buy the title, and by the looks of it, that is the only way to break that. But the way we've tried it before, that doesn't work. So why not try a different way? And this is what we're doing. It's a slow burn, it's a slow build. But the argument is, no one's tried to do it this way. Yeah, it's a newer approach to it. We could end up and hopefully the fact that Henry is aware that this could be an issue, it could end up cementing us as a Europa League side for the next few years. But the hope is that as long as we're financially soundly run and FFP is adhered to, we're going to look awesome in 3 or 4 years' time when the proper sanctions start coming in. Yeah. 5 years' time, we'll be fine. And the problem is, of course, is that to Liverpool fans, every season is a season too long. It's 20 years, it's 21 years, it's 22 years, it's going to be 23 years. Whereas I would argue, it's been 22 years.
Yeah, what's the next 5 years?
Precisely. Because the fact of the matter is, and it's certainly...